everybody, Jennifer Louden, JenniferLouden.com here in my office. I wanted to talk to you today about how to share your voice, how to develop it, how to get it out in the world, in your writing, in your work, in your creativity, when you're afraid of being judged. This is a really big issue for almost everybody, including myself. And that judgment, it might be your fears about what people know you are going to think about your work, or how the marketplace, readers, etc. are going to take to it or not. It's essential that you regularly and with so much compassion deal with any fears that you have around judgment or negative feedback. If you don't, it can shut your voice down in some really obvious ways, like you never put anything out there, you never finish anything, but also in really subtle ways. And I know this from my own experience of couching my words, trying to keep everybody happy, finding the middle road. And this, while not something, I'll say more about why you might want to consider doing some of that. But if you take it in and you do it without really considering how it impacts your message or your material or what you're interested in learning about and speaking about and writing about, it can really dilute you and bore the crap out of you. So you actually never finish something because you're not stretching to the fullness of what you're curious about and want to be a stand for in the world. So the first thing I want to say about this toolbox, about fears and experiences that you may actually have had or will have in the future about being judged, is that feedback from others always says more about them than it does about you. And I learned that from my friend Michael Bungay Stanier, and I always say his last name wrong. So we always have to remember that first thing. And I got some feedback the other day that was really kind of shocking to me, and it felt so out of alignment with my own experience. So the first thing I reminded myself was this is feedback that says more about the person than it does about me. It doesn't mean there's not something I can decipher here that will be useful. I'm not going to just throw it all out. But my first thing to do is to calm my nervous system down. So that's the first thing I want to give you. When you receive feedback or when the fear is getting stirred up because of someplace you're going in your work, your voice is developing, you're going, crap, I can't say that, I can't do that. Calm your nervous system down. I'm safe, this is right now, and if I do ever get feedback that feels uncomfortable or nerve-wracking or embarrassing, remember my first thought is always going to be, that says more about them than me. Not in a negative or judgmental way, but just as a fact. All right? The second thing I want to tell you is, looking at my notes here, being a light in the world, whether that is to entertain or to inform, to teach, it doesn't mean that it's all about being lightness. And it doesn't mean that other people aren't going to dim your shine, as Lady Gaga says, because they will. Because when you take a stand, other people are going to go, oh my God, but I feel differently. I gotta shut you up, right? They're going to have their own reactivity. So sometimes what I see in the world is like this idea, like if I'm having my voice and I'm sharing my work, if it's true, then everyone's going to love it. And no, if it's true, it may well trigger people. It's not about being soft or fluffy or keeping everybody happy. So that brings me to my third question or point for you to use when you're navigating this fear of being judged. To this person who may or may not ever give you this feedback, how much permission are you granting him or her or them to matter? And are you granting your own creativity, your own beliefs, your own interests more? Yes, more. Not the same, more. This is essential to claiming your voice, to developing it over time. I matter. What I think, what I feel, what I'm curious about matters. It doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody. It doesn't mean it's right. I'm going to say more about that in a second. But it matters to me. And you've got to keep claiming that. And this sort of fear of judgment or past experiences of judgment, which you may have had, I certainly have, can really erode that essential moment of, what am I curious about? What do I want to know more about? Well, why do I want to go that way with my character? Why do I want to go that way with my memoir? You can't do that. You have to develop a fine tune. This is now, I'm safe now, I'm developing it, I'm saying it, I'm claiming it now. And later, when that fear comes back, or when it's in reality and someone's like, I don't like this, or I can't believe you wrote that, or that's bullshit, then you can say to yourself, feedback says more about them than me, and how much permission am I giving their voice to matter? And remember to bring back your own. I'm looking at my notes now. Does it matter more to you, and this is an honest question to reflect on, to express yourself honestly than to keep the peace, or to be liked, or to stay invisible? Really reflect on that from time to time. What matters most to you? There's no wrong answer, but don't lie to yourself to stay safe when safety is an illusion. Okay, now I'm going to go back to this idea that feedback says more about them than you, because there is things we can learn from feedback, even when it's nasty, like the email I got yesterday. And really, when I went back and kind of fact checked, pretty seriously, nothing that I could take away from it. It was really deeply about this other person. But I love great Buddhist teachers, starting with the Buddha himself, because basically what the Buddha said, and I don't know, maybe Christ said this as well, and Muhammad and teachers that I'm not as familiar with. But basically like, hey, here's this idea. Here's this practice. Here's this possibility. Check it out for yourself. Try it out for yourself. When sometimes we trigger other people to get in our face, or we're worried about triggering other people and being judged, it's because maybe we're getting a little adamant or rigid, or my way or the highway. If you don't do it, you're toxic to me. You know, that kind of stuff. I see that a lot in the personal growth, self-help, some spirituality fields, and you really want to be examining your own approach to writing and teaching. Doesn't mean you're going to be wishy-washy, but you need to regularly remind people that this is what has worked for you. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about fiction or memoir. I'm talking about more teaching writing now, blog posts, etc. This is what I'm a stand for. This is what's worked for me. And you have to remind people to weave that into your language without like becoming a wishy-washy, mushy, like, oh, but really, check it out for yourself. Test it out for yourself. Invite dissent, invite conversation, and have that feeling in you when you're actually writing and teaching. And it'll permeate things with a lightness. And then people get less triggered, I've found. Maybe. Remember that people don't get convinced because you knock them over the head with facts. And if you're doing any kind of environmental work or political work or feminist-based work or things that you care deeply about, you may be like, let me give you the facts and this is going to convince you. And then when people aren't convinced or they push back out of their own beliefs, you can feel really poopy. People change in mysterious, slow ways. It's scary for lots of people to consider other points of view. And the best way is to have a sense of lightness, here's my experience, and give them stories. Give them ways to experience with their sensory imagination what you're about, and leave out the knocking them over the head. You will waste less energy and you'll have more chance of being effective. Learn about effective storytelling. I don't want to feel like I hid something that I care about, or even having the experience of developing it here in my own little office. I don't want to have the experience of hiding from myself because of past experiences, a really bad review in People magazine for my second book, or fast forward to that strange email yesterday. I don't want to hide from myself. I don't want to hide from feeling and hearing and experiencing my own voice, my own ideas, bursting forth out of my brain and my heart and my body. How much I share of them, where, when, that's a secondary and also very important decision for me. But first and foremost, I don't want to miss getting to taste and be changed personally by owning, exploring, defining my own voice. And then I could say, and I think you could too, that I don't want the world, my tiny sliver of the world, to be denied the possibility of change, growth, or insight from sharing those ideas. So I hope you found some of these useful, and I hope you'll give some real thought to the fact that judgment and pushback from others doesn't have to stop you, doesn't have to be a bad thing. And again, it always means more about them than it does about you. Thanks for listening.